Good morning, everybody. On the way to the gym right now. Gonna hit a good arm day. Feeling pretty good. Not much more to say there. We're on the plan for the diet. We are hitting good days every day out of the split the last few weeks. Everything's just been looking great. So we're feeling good, looking good, doing good. Had a little subject I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about having compassion for yourself. It's something that we can go through as people who are trying to grow and learn in our lives. As we grow and as we get better, we can tend to look back on our past self with a lot of disgust, I would say, is a simple way to put it. And we look back at our past self and we judge ourselves for what we've done, and we judge ourselves really harshly for the mistakes we've made. And I believe there's a place for being hard on yourself. There's a time for being hard on yourself and really, knowing when you've done something wrong, right? But I don't believe that time is all the time. There needs to be a point where you do forgive yourself eventually, and you do hold compassion for yourself and understand that, you didn't mean to do what you did. And maybe you did mean to do what you did, but we'll get into that. You'll understand the nuances. By the way, the sun is beautiful. This video looks great right now. I couldn't be more happy with that. Holy shit. It is a beautiful day outside. We are loving it right now. But I'm going to get back on topic. As we get further down our journey and we start growing more and getting better in all of these aspects, you look back at your past self like I said, you were looking down on yourself and you're judging yourself really harshly for the way you used to be. And I think we need to try to remind ourselves that we didn't mean to. We didn't mean to do the things we did. We didn't mean to make the mistakes we did. And, you didn't know any better at the time. A lot of times, there's exceptions to this. And, you can be one of them people that's going to find an exception in everything I say, right? This isn't an end-all, be-all guide, but you got to remember that, if you had known better, if you had known what you know now at that time, you wouldn't have done the thing you did, right? You wouldn't have made the mistake that you did. So obviously, the reason you made the mistake was because you didn't know any better. You didn't have the knowledge that you do now to understand why the thing you did was harmful to other people, harmful to yourself, harmful to your success. I've done a lot of things I regret in my life. I've been really harmful to a lot of people in my life. I can say unknowingly and try to make it sound better for myself and sound like I didn't mean to do what I did, and I was just a baby. I didn't know no better, right? But no, there was a lot of times I did know better, and I did hurt people knowing that I was hurting them, and I didn't care because it was for my own selfish gain. It was for my own selfish desires. But holding on to that guilt and that shame isn't doing anything for me. Holding on to those feelings of telling myself I'm such a bad person aren't going to help me at all. They're not going to help me grow. It's not going to push me into the life I want. I'm going to develop the life I want and, become the person I want to be now through, just taking time and reflecting on these things, but not being so harsh on myself. I believe this is similar to the unwanted thoughts video, that self-talk, those insecurities and such that you hold. Is it serving you to continue hurting yourself about these things? Is it serving me to continue pushing myself down and, talking bad towards myself because of the mistakes I've made in the past? Or does it serve me to have a little compassion for myself, forgive myself, and understand that I'm growing and now I know better? There's a Lil Wayne video. It's in my reposts on TikTok. did nothing wrong. All I'm saying is now I'm doing it right. And that may be kind of a sore thing to hear for people that I have hurt. You know, if anybody's watching this that knows me personally, that may be something sore for you to hear. And, you know, you may think to yourself, well, what a dick. You know, now he's doing it right. And, you know, it doesn't matter what he did in the past, right? But yeah, I mean, to a point, yeah. What else am I going to do about it? You know what I mean? I can't give up on the rest of my life and never want anything for myself, never achieve anything for myself because of the things I've done in the past. Then it would make it a waste, and it would make it just straight up bad. Now, if I can change myself for the better now and start doing better and be better for the future, that's a win. That's a good thing, because I went through those negatives in order to propel me to these higher positives now, you know. But getting a little off topic, and this might be a little vain of myself. I feel like I might be kind of talking to some people through this video if they're watching and they know me. This isn't what this video is about, and this isn't about you. So we're going to get back to talking to the people who are listening. You know, you gotta remember some of these things that you've done, some of the ways you've treated people, some of the mentalities you've held, right, are things you did in a state of survival. A lot of times, you know, from a young age, we develop tendencies that are in the interest of your survival. And it comes from your parents. It comes from, you know, your young childhood growing up. You develop these bad tendencies to protect yourself. As a young kid, you protect yourself in these ways that aren't healthy. And we, you know, as we get older, we have to learn how to grow out of these tendencies and try to be better for the people in our lives. And you got to remember that you didn't mean to carry these tendencies. You didn't necessarily decide that I'm going to hurt people in this way because I was hurt this way. It doesn't work out like that. It's not as conscious as you know, now you may see it more conscious. You may look back at the tendencies you held and think to yourself, well, that was just because I felt bad about this. But you didn't know that in the moment. You know, you didn't understand that at the time. And to hold yourself accountable in such a way where you're trying to make it seem like you did know better at the time, when that's not the truth, is harmful to you. So think about, you know, some of the things you did and try to understand that it was a survival technique. It was in order to keep you safe. It was in order to protect the inner child in you that had been hurt in all these ways, and now you developed these sharp thorns that everyone around you kept getting hurt on. You know, you developed this sharp, spiky, abrasive exterior, like SpongeBob with his abrasive side. I don't know, you know, and you started hurting people, and you didn't mean to, not necessarily. And if you did, then I don't think you're watching this video. I don't think you care enough to be looking at stuff like this if you really are just a person who wants to hurt people. If you're watching this and you're listening to this, you probably are a person who is not intending to hurt the people around you, as was I, you know, like I said, I've done some things intentionally and carelessly, but never just for the sake of hurting somebody. And I think we can all kind of agree on that. So, you know, just try to identify the defense mechanisms that you've used and try to understand that you didn't know that that's what you were doing then. You may understand it now, and that's the point. You had to go through those things to learn that about yourself and understand and learn how to be better in the future. Some of us got dealt a shittier hand of cards in life, and this isn't an excuse, but you'll understand what I'm saying. Some people were given a way shittier field to play on to start with. So then you develop these bad tendencies and you hurt people, right? So now you have to learn creates you doing bad stuff. Now, after time has gone on, you can look at the bad stuff you have done and learn from it, and now become a person who holds the values and morals that somebody who kind of started off on the right foot already had. You know, some of us people we weren't raised in the perfect home and given all these perfect tools to be such a good person. I've met people like this that are, you know, and not always, everybody's got their nuances, but I've met people that are very well-rounded and they're very well emotionally balanced, and their parents taught them very well, and they learned a lot of good things about life without having to go through it the hard way. And this isn't a knock on them, but, you know, they didn't have to learn stuff through trial and error. They learned stuff through being taught by really good people around them, and I'm very glad that those people are able to have that. I just wasn't, and you probably weren't either. You had to go through shit the hard way to learn why you don't do things that way. You had to be hurt in order to understand, you know, how to be better. And we gotta have compassion for ourselves with that idea. You know, you can't be too hard on yourself, and you gotta understand that maybe you had to go through the things you had to, and hurt the people you had to, and do the bad things you had to learn something about yourself and possibly make you better. All right, I believe, you know, truly, not better. This isn't there's no scale, but I believe people who have seen some of the worst parts of life, and some people who have felt the worst things you can feel in life, can come out of the other side of it being so much more caring and so much more loving and understanding. And, you know, you can't, I believe there's more depth to a person that's really seen some shit and felt some shit and made some real mistakes and really, really been a shitty person. Then you can come out of it and learn how to be a really, really fucking good person. And, you know, I gotta stop thinking about what everyone else thinks about that, about myself. You know, it's not up to all you motherfuckers that know me or that have seen me in life, and you should take this too. All these people, it's not up to you to decide how good of a person I am and how good of a person I should be and I'm allowed to be. That's for me to decide. It's my life, and you should think this for yourself too. So, you know, don't take the mistakes you've made and the people you've hurt as some sort of a ceiling for you to stay under. You know what I mean? You can get better, but not too good, because how are you going to be such a good person if you were such a bad person? Don't let that judgment hold you back, and don't let that feeling cut you short. Allow yourself to be better than you've ever thought you could be, even after doing shit worse than you ever thought you would do. You know, personally, I've done some things that are really reprehensible. Is that the word? You know, I can't seem to forgive myself for some stuff I've done. But I'm not going to let that hold me back, and I'm not going to let myself limit how good I can make my life and how good of a person I can be going forward because of that. I'm not going to tell myself that I'm under some sort of limit because of that. And you shouldn't either. When you're struggling with trying to understand, when you're struggling with trying to have that compassion for yourself for the mistakes you've made, did you learn your lesson? Is what you need to be asking yourself. Did you take something valuable from this, and did you grow? You know, if you're doing these things but you're not growing from them, and you're never looking back and understanding why it happened and taking that lesson and learning from it, then maybe you can consider yourself a bad person, and you can look down on yourself a little bit, because, you know, that's maybe a wake-up call for you. You need to lock in, and you need to learn your lesson from shit that you've done. You gotta look back and realize how much you've hurt people, and, you know, try to find something to learn from it, and not just let it be and just forget about it and ignore it. You know, that's not what I'm saying with this. Have compassion for yourself and forgive yourself. Forgive, but don't forget, for yourself. This isn't just something about for other people that have hurt you, for your own self. Forgive yourself for what you did. Understand you didn't know better. Understand that you've learned your lesson, and don't forget about it. Forgive, but do not forget. Don't forget what you learned. You know what I mean? Don't forget to try to do better next time. Don't let that slip your mind. Always, carry the lesson from it, but don't carry the guilt and the shame from what you've done. Because carrying that guilt and shame doesn't do anything for any longer than, a little bit. You know what I mean? You need that little bit of time to feel guilty and feel shame, and that is the emotion that's going to drive you to look deeper into it and understand what it is, learn from it, and grow from it. But if you've already learned from it and you've already grown from it, and now you know you are a better type of person than you were then why are you still talking to yourself in this way? Why are you still so hard on yourself and telling yourself you're a bad person because of what past you did? This is a really tough topic, and like I said, even I struggle with this. This is kind of hard for me to put into words right now. And I think these videos are kind of a way for me personally to work out some of these issues and talk about them in such a way, because I've always seemed to be able to give all this advice, but I can't seem to take the shit for myself. So, as I do these videos, I'm almost taking an issue that I'm dealing with myself. I flip it as if it was somebody else who I'm telling how to help deal with it, and then after the fact, I look at myself and go, now take that advice, now do it. So, this is for you and for me, and I hope anybody watching this understands that I'm not just preaching, I'm learning along with you. I think we're kind of off that topic. I wanted to get into something else that goes on to what I was just saying. I saw a video of somebody talking about how to feel content in your life, right? And they were like, do you feel bored? Do you distract yourself with dopamine and blah, blah, blah? How do you feel real contentment? And then they start off the video right after that by saying, by the way, I'm a person who was in the military for this amount of time. I did this career. I was a surgeon, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, no shit, you know how to feel content. You've done all this shit in your life. You've achieved all these things and worked through all this, and now you've gotten to a point where you have a healthy, real understanding of what contentment feels like for the life that you have. That doesn't fucking apply to me. I'm not gonna sit here and watch your video explaining how to feel content in your life if you're not where I'm at. So I think I'm flipping the script on this a little bit. This whole idea of don't take advice from somebody who isn't where you want to be. Fuck that. Take, not advice, but take, something to bounce off of, something to try to learn from and try to understand from somebody who's in a similar position as you. Somebody who's on the same trajectory as you, in the same direction. You know what I mean? Somebody who's in the same spot as you, same job, same life, same whatever. If they're not trying actively to be better, then obviously don't take their advice. But somebody who's alongside you at the same level, but is actively on the same trajectory you are, pushing in the same direction, yes, take some time to understand what that person's talking about and, help each other. It's kind of a little side rant. I just wanted to kind of get it out of my system, because I feel this imposter syndrome about who am I to be saying this stuff to people. I don't have it all together, but that's the point. I'm on the path that I believe all of you are on also, and I hope we can all work together to get there. I'm sick of listening to people who have it all. I'm sick of listening to those rich motherfuckers, those big celebrities, those people that just have everything perfectly figured out, trying to sit there and tell me, how to deal with these emotions and these feelings. Maybe they have gone through it, and maybe they have seen it, but they're not in it. They're not feeling it right now actively. Same as your parents when you're a kid in school. You ever get that feeling that your parents forget that they were kids once too? you know, that they look at you with such like, oh, why don't you just do what you're supposed to do? Did you do what you were supposed to do, mom, dad? No, probably fucking not. But you're looking at me with such a high and mighty idea that you know how to do it, right? But not in the moment. So I'm making these videos from a place of somebody who's in the moment, in the feelings of these things, being able to work through them with you, alongside you, and really more understand the nuances of these little feelings. When you grow out of it and you're past it and you look back, you can remember kind of the highlight reel of what you went through and kind of pinpoint some feelings that might be relatable. But if you're not actively going through it in the moment, you're forgetting all of the little things that tie into these feelings, and you're not getting a full scope of it. You know, you're giving somebody a playbook without the details. It's just a broad scale kind of to-do list, you know, a checklist, but you're not getting the details and the nuances of in between each of these things. So I'm going to slow down on that topic there. Just got a little onto it. But I'm trying not to censor myself too much in these videos, and I'm not trying to script this too much and, you know, decide exactly what I should be talking about. I'm letting these things flow, and I'm trying to talk as authentically as I can and as from the heart as I can about all of these things, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about that. Just understand that as odd as these videos might end up being, and as different as the topics may end up being throughout it, it's more for the sake of authenticity, the sake of talking directly as I would to somebody who was sitting in front of me, and with the same care and, you know, I kind of get sick of these videos that are just a script, you know. It almost fucking starting to get to a point where you can see that it was a ChatGPT written script for these videos. People are like, you know, here's a guide on how to get to this point, and you can see them straight up reading off a script that they didn't write. It's categorized down into these sections, and you can see them reading the script and telling it to you. And it's almost like they're reading it for the first time. Like, as they're reading off the thing, talking to you, you can see that they are reading it for the first time as well. They didn't even read through it before they started filming. They didn't make up these points. They didn't create this. They're just regurgitating shit. I'm not doing that. So if these videos aren't as uniform and as perfectly cut as everything else, that's the point. They're supposed to be a little more authentic and a little more straight up from the feelings of a person who's going through the growth that I believe you are also. So, enough of that. You guys get the point. Slight recap. Have compassion for yourself. Understand that you didn't mean to do the things you did. If you did, you're not here watching this. So, you know you didn't mean to do the things you did. The tendencies you held were defense mechanisms and survival mechanisms created from more likely a young age to keep you safe. The danger's gone now. The danger is gone. You don't need to carry these mechanisms anymore. So take time to work through them and try to grow from them. Try to let those mechanisms go in yourself. Try to stop using these defensive tools and start trying to learn how to do it in a better way. But don't hold this guilt about that having to exist in the first place. Don't feel guilty for doing what you had to do to survive in the environment you had to. It is not your fault. So just remember that. And that's kind of all I got on that topic. This is going to be a longer video, and I hope you guys can take something from it. On to different things. Pre-workout. Trying a different pre-workout today. It's one I've had in the cupboard for a while, but I never used. But hoping this will line up to be a bit better of a pump. And also, we are having some Nerds Gummy Clusters pre-workout. I've never really done the candy workout thing like the powerlifters do with the Sour Patch Kids or whatever. But I had them in the cupboard and I figured I'd try them today. And I can't get this package open right now. It's fucking... But yeah, so that's our pre-workout. We're going in for a good arm day. I'm gonna try to kind of just replicate last time's arm day. I think it went really well. And I think the variation of the bicep movements went pretty well. And the variation of the tricep movements also. We're gonna take a little bit of a lighter load on forearms today. I was having some pain in my inner elbow here, and I thought it was my bicep tendon. And I'm now realizing through I'm now realizing it's my forearm. The tendon for your forearm that ties in right here in the crease of the elbow. This forearm muscle, that tendon right there, is feeling a little painful. And it's because of those heavy isometric holds the last couple days. So I'm gonna try to take it light on my forearms as much as I can, almost trying to light grip any of the movements I do and try not to focus so much on squeezing my hands and just the muscle I'm focusing on. So trying to go a little lighter with the forearm work today. But other than that, I'm gonna get in the gym. We're gonna quit yapping and we'll get back in the car after and we'll have a little talk on the way to the store. But I hope you guys enjoyed that first section and I hope you guys took something from it. We are done with the emotional life talking section of the video. Now we are on to the gym section. So I'll see you guys after. What's going on, everybody? We're back in the car right now. That was the best arm day I've ever had. I think these are to blame. I've never had an arm pump so fucking phenomenal, dude. I mean, I feel like I was splitting the skin again. I can't be beat there, dude. Look at the size of them. Fucking massive, dude. I'm looking fucking huge. That pump check, it's gonna show. You're gonna see. That is the craziest I've ever looked. Just in general, my whole body. I mean, fuck, dude. I look fucking huge today, and I'm feeling fucking good. You know, you think seasonal depression is a fucking joke until the weather's like this, and you feel like you just fucking, you pop some mollies or something, you know what I mean? You're going. So, I feel fucking great right now. I mean, couldn't be better for this, so. Just, I guess a little recommendation for y'all. If y'all feel like your pumps aren't getting it, eat a little bit of candy with your pre-workout and fucking go hard at it, man. I mean, there's nothing better than a pump like that. So, I think I'm gonna leave you guys with that for today. I'm on a bit of a time crunch. I gotta get back home and I gotta stop by the store first. So we're gonna try not to waste too much time here. Excuse me. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that that pump it felt as good as it looked, and I know it looked good. So y'all enjoy that little footage there. Enjoy this little footage here. Jesus Christ. Yeah, nothing more to say there, guys. That was a great fucking lift. I think I got all my heart poured out in the first half of this video, so I'm just gonna leave you guys with this. I can't stop talking. You guys have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much for watching. What's up, everybody? I'm back here again just for a second. I just got out of the store and I realized I forgot to explain what the workout was today. I like to just give a recap of what I've done in the workout just so everybody knows, in case anybody wants to know for any reason. So just a quick recap and then we'll be back on the road and the video will now be over. So it started off with, oh my God. Started off with decline curls with the dumbbells sitting on the bench. Super good movement. I felt a crazy pump from that specifically. Those type of curls really isolate in the bicep, and you can't really ego lift with those. So 3 sets of those, 3 sets of preacher curls with the easy bar, and then from that we jumped over into triceps. Did overhead single arm extensions, about 3 sets of those, and then we did the seated dips. Really tricep focused on the seated dip, put a lot of weight on them, used the little seat belt to hold you down and everything. Those I felt like are a big part of why my arms looked so blown up today. I've heard dips are kind of the secret to getting them just massive arms, so that was kind of the goal there. And then after those dips, went over and did some rope extensions, rope push downs, the regular style. Really focusing on getting that lateral head and that outward motion. And then we finished up with some regular standing dumbbell curls just to get that pump reactivated a little bit, and then onto the pump check, and that was that. So not much more to talk about there. Just wanted to kind of give you guys the rundown of what we were doing there. Also, in between sets of preacher curls, I was hitting hammer curls to failure. So kind of supersetting those together, and I think that worked pretty well as well. But yeah, not much more to talk about there. That'll be the end of the video. Just wanted to make sure I got that in for today. So you guys have a great night. Thank you for watching.